And joining me now in the studio to discuss this is Alp Mehmet, the spectacular chairman of the Migration Watch UK. Alp, always a delight to have you in. It must be, in one sense, quite nice for a report to come out proving what you've been saying for the thick end of 20 years, that low-skilled immigration to this country comes at a deficit to the Treasury, not a benefit. Tell us more about the figures.
Well, I mean, they're stating the obvious. Interestingly enough, only a few years ago, they were saying that lower immigration would lead to a gigantic hole in our finances. Maybe that's where the Prime Minister got the idea of a black hole from. No, look, what happens regularly and has been happening for some years now is report after report showing that low-level, low-skill immigration is a net cost to the Exchequer. In 2016, there was a report which said that in the 15 years from 1995 to 2011, the net cost was minus £115 billion.
Thanks, Tony Blair.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with it. Of course it did. In fact, when we looked at the figures using the same methodology, we arrived at an even bigger figure of 140 billion. More recently, there was Oxford Economics came out with a report which showed that in 2016-17, it was a net cost of something like 4.5 billion. So it's not new. But I am pleased that the OBR finally has seen the light and has listened to what Migration Watch has been saying.
And Alp, these figures actually are the tip of the iceberg when you delve even deeper. So they work this out as the cost if you arrive as a 25-year-old low-skilled immigrant. By the time you're 66, you're not paying enough in to start clawing the pension back. So you cost 151,000, but of course the longer you live, the greater the drain on the British economy. So the figures actually increase to eye-watering numbers, Alp, if people live longer. Tell us about those figures.
Well, if they live to 80, and God willing, we immigrants do live to that age, that rises to something like £500 million. If they make it to 100, it's £1 million.
That's right. So just to clarify that, it's £500,000 quid if they live until 80, and £1 million each. This is for every single low-skilled immigrant. If they arrive at the age of 25, £1 million each if they live to 100. That's the net deficit, of course, on healthcare, education, everything in their lifetimes. So this obliterates any argument that low-skilled immigration is a positive thing for the British economy.
No, absolutely. It's not a positive. Look, according to the OBR, those who come here to work are on average half the average wage in the UK. The average wage is around £35,000 a year. In London, it's something like £44,000 a year. So they're only paying in half that, and they're only receiving half that, and they're paying in accordance with the amount that they're receiving, which is a pittance compared to the benefits, the cost to the NHS, to schools. I mean, all these things have to be factored in if you're going to establish how much it is. You can't just leave it to how much they pay in tax. There's a great deal more than that when you're working out how much in each individual, you and I, cost the state.
And that's what these eye-watering figures prove. Now, what's the way out of this? Because we need immigration, skilled immigration, high earners. You know, the Americans, Swiss, Maltese, Cypriots typically earn very, very good money per capita compared to the average taxpayer. Immigration is good if it's channeled in the correct way, not when it's unskilled or low-skilled like this. What's the solution to this?
Martin, we've been saying that for so many years. We need to focus our attention on high skill, the sort of people that are needed in this country, not because we are handing out like a charity to people who want a better life. We've got to keep immigration down. The only way that's going to happen if we have a cap. If we have a cap that we can aim for, then we can work out the policies that are going to reduce immigration, I would say, to considerably less than 100,000 net per year. At the moment, we're something like 600,000 over that. That's going to lead to a population increase within, by the mid-40s, of something like 20 million people. 20, that's 18 Birminghams, for goodness sake.
It's astonishing. Now, quickly, if we could, Robert Jenrick is the latest of the Tory hopefuls, saying that he will impose an immigration cap. But we've heard that from David Cameron from 2010, 10,000s. We've heard about caps. Will the cap fit? Can the cap ever work? Or do you think, basically, at the moment, immigration on this level seems to be baked into the way we live in Britain?
No, it can work. Of course it can work. And the figures that were released yesterday showed that they can. When you target the sort of people that we really don't want to come here, if you say no visas for dependents of low-level students, postgraduate students, then they don't come. Well, that is what you've got to do across the board. The sort of people that we don't need, we should say, sorry, but you can't come in. And we can also do something about the illegal migration, which is, we're going to get between, I don't know, 30, 40,000 people coming in by the end of the year. That's a significant number.
And what we need to do, of course, is try and wean the Deliveroo economy off of this unskilled, cheap labour, because that at the same time suppresses wages for the British working class. We've been saying this since before Brexit, way before.
Absolutely. In our efforts, or the government's efforts to be nice, kind to migrants, in their effort to do that, they're actually smacking in the face the ordinary people at the lower end of earnings. They're hitting them, kicking them where it hurts most.